Hello Year 9 and welcome to this lesson of home learning. Today's lesson we are looking at explaining the impacts of uneven development on migration. Your learning objectives for this lesson then are, first of all, describe the pattern of migration in Europe. So where are people moving within Europe? We're then going to look at explaining how uneven development causes migration. So why do the levels of development within a country cause people to move from country to country? And then finally evaluate the impacts of migration on both the host country and the country of origin. So what happens in terms of the country that the people move to, that would be your host country, compared to the people in the country where they've left, which is your country of origin. Now in the bottom left hand corner you've got your equipment that you will need for today's lesson. You need to have a quick read through that so you know you're ready to complete the lesson. On the opposite side, the right hand corner in the bottom, you've got your know your level. Again, just need to quickly read through that so you know if you should be doing the developing, the secured or mastered task dependent on your MG grade. Okay, so learning objective 1 of this lesson then is to look at the pattern of migration within Europe. Now, migration, first of all, is when we move from one country to another. And then uneven development is the different levels of development that are in different countries. And in previous lessons, we've already looked at why those levels of development differ from country to country. And we're going to look at why that makes people want to move from one country to another. Now, like I said, the first learning objective that we're looking at is to look at what the pattern of migration is within the EU. So what we have here is an infograph which represents data from 2015 and the European migrant crisis. In 2015, over 1 million migrants entered Europe, leading to the countries struggling to cope with the sudden population rise. And the EU received a significant criticism regarding how it handled this. Now, to help you understand this infograph, at the bottom there is information which links to the key in the top right hand corner of the graph, and you can see the Schengen areas are areas where you can travel without a passport, so you can move from country to country without showing your passport or having to have it stamped or have a visa, and you can see they relate to that colour on the infograph. For the EU but not Schengen agreement, they're part of the European Union, but you cannot travel freely without a passport. So you have to have your passport checked at border controls before you move from one country to another. Okay, and again, that colour is then represented on the key that you can look at. And then you've got your Schengen agreement, but not EU. So those are countries that are not part of the European Union, but they can still travel within Europe without a passport. And again, you can see where those places are located on the infograph using the key in the top right hand corner. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this infograph, so this information from this figure, to answer some questions. So I'm going to give you a set of questions and you need to reach a point tally of 12. So each question has a grade or a mark on it, and you need to make sure that by the end of this task you've got 12 marks in full. So for developing, you need to answer 7 questions to get to 12 marks. For secured, you're going to answer 5 questions to get to 12 marks. And mastered, you can answer up to 3 questions to get to 3 marks. So the questions now are at the bottom of the infograph. Okay, you've got the information there for your key, so if you're unsure what your key stands for, you can use the understanding the map key. So, for example, if you're going to do the developing task, you're going to answer 7 of these questions. So you need to find 7 questions which have a total point score of 12. For secured, you're going to find 5 questions that will give you a total point score of 12. And then for mastered, you're going to answer up to 3 questions that will give you a total point score of 12. And obviously the higher the point is for that question, the higher the difficulty is for that question. So I want you to pause the video now and try and answer the amount of questions for you to get 12 points. So learning objective 2 of this lesson is to look at why uneven development creates migration. So why does a level of development within a country cause people to move to another country? Now, the first thing you can see on this slide is that you've got a bar chart that shows you the top 10 origins of people applying for asylum in the EU. So that's just people that are asking to move to an EU country from their home country. And as you can see, the top three there are Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, and then you've got Kosovo at number 4, okay? And these are people that are asking to leave those countries to come and move and live within the EU. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on those top 4 that I've just mentioned, and we're going to investigate why people in those countries, the citizens in those countries, want to migrate to the EU. So the first thing I'd like you to do is just create a table which is below, where you've got the 4 countries, push and pull factors as your heading. So can you just quickly create this table? So just pause the video while you do that. So now that you've created that table, what you're going to do is you're going to use a series of resources which are located on class charts, and you're going to use these resources to fill in the table that you've just created. For developing on your table, I want you to fill in a push and pull factor for each country. So push factor is something that pushes you out of your home, something that makes you want to leave, okay? Generally it's something that forces you to leave. And then you've got pull factors that pull you in, that are good things, positives that make you want to move to somewhere else. So for example, in Syria, why would they need to move their home? Would be the push factor. What is the pull factor that is making them want to move to an EU country? Once you've done that, you've got your push and pull factors from using the resources on class charts. I then want you to link each push and pull factor to SEEP. So do you think it links to social, economic, environmental, or political? And then can you explain why? So if you're saying this is a social impact because, so it's a social pull factor or a social push factor because, and just explain why it's affecting people for social, okay? If it's economic, it would be money. If it's environmental, it's anything to do with nature. And then political would be anything to do with law or the government. And then finally, for mastered, for each factor, can you tell me how it links to the development of that country? So how does that push factor what does that push factor tell us about the development of that country? And again, you just say this links to the development of the country because. Okay, so there's 3 tasks there that I've explained that you can do. Can you pause the video now and complete the tasks? Okay, so our last learning objective of this lesson is to look at the impacts of migration on the host country and the origin country. So what we're going to do then is we're going to look at a specific example of migration between Syria and Germany. So our country of origin is going to be Syria, so that's the country that people are moving from, and our host country then is going to be Germany, and this is the country that people are moving to. So we're looking at why Syrian refugees are settling in Germany. So what I'd like us to do first of all is, can we create the following 2 mind maps on a piece of paper, or you can put 2 headings on a Word document so that you can complete the task that I'll explain following. So just pause the video now while you create these 2 mind maps, please. Okay, now that you've created those 2 mind maps, what we're going to do to using them is look at how the migration between Syrian refugees settling in Germany has impacted these 2 countries. So have there been positive or negative impacts on these 2 countries? Have there been good things or have there been bad things? And the way we're going to do this is by watching some videos. So for developing, I want you to add a minimum of 3 impacts of migration to each mind map. And remember, think about, do you think Syria is going to have a negative impact if people are moving away from there, while Germany may have positive impacts because people are moving into Germany? And what might those negative impacts be within Syria? And what might be those positive impacts on Germany? There may also be negative impacts within Germany as well, along with some positives in Syria. And that's what you're looking for, the impacts, what's happening within those countries because people are leaving Syria to go and live in Germany. Okay, for secured, can you label these impacts as positive or negative? So that's where you need to tell me, I think this is a positive impact because. I think it's a negative impact because. You need to explain why it's positive and negative. And then mastered, can you label each impact using SEEP? So does it link to social? So it links to people. Economic, does it link to money? environment, does it link to nature, and then political, does it link to government? And again, can you explain why it links that? So this is a social impact because, this is an economic impact because, and just explain why it's that case. So what you need to do is, once you've got your mind maps created, which you should have already done, you need to go over to class charts. There are 4 videos for you to watch. There's 2 about Syria and 2 about Germany. And you need to watch these videos and add impacts to your mind maps. Then you can label them positive or negative and then link them to SEEP. So just pause the video now, go over to class charts to watch the videos. So now that we've completed the lesson, just want to go through what I want you to upload to class charts. So first of all, I'd like you to upload your table of push and pull factors, which links to our second learning objective, which was explaining how uneven development causes migration. I then want you to upload your mind map of both Germany and Syria, and that links to evaluating the impacts of migration on both the host country and the origin country, and we're looking for the positives and negatives of that migration between those 2 countries. So well done for completing this lesson today. Again, all your teachers are looking forward to seeing your work, so thank you for completing the work today. Look forward to seeing you soon.